Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folare. Okay. Well, first of all, let me just say that we'll continue as much as we can, but it might well be that we might have to cut away to a groundbreaking ceremony for the construction of the Mina Bida Road in the program. But then again, we might be through with the program before they actually start their business. So once again, thank you very much for joining us. And our guest this morning is Mr. Omorui Edogiawere. Yes, he gave me a pass mark the last time I said it, and I hope he still maintains his pass mark. A fine morning to you, Omorui. Mr. Edogiawere is a startup business lawyer and financial analyst. Fine morning to you.
Good morning. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Well, let's talk some hard stuff. Is the way people will see the subject matter of our discussion, because we want to talk about taxation, levies, and our inflationary trends. Clearly, we are in inflationary times. You don't even need to be a student of economics, in which case you wouldn't understand particularly what is going on and what it means. But people just know that we're in inflationary times because the price of everything has gone higher. We are seeing a figure of 31.7%, which is up almost 10% on the same thing this is as of February, on the same time a year before. Then we're hearing that food inflation is even a different thing, but is equally as high. Now, we want to sort of explore the link, if there is any, I suspect there might be, from taxation to levies and these inflationary trends that we're seeing. Give me an overview, please, to start off with.
All right. I think that there's an adage that says that if you do not know where rain started hitting you, you probably not know where it stops. And a lot of what we're grappling with today are issues that we have allowed to fester for so long, and chickens have now come home to roost. And when we look at how did we get here, we demystified local manufacturing and intensified our efforts on importation. We devalued our naira because we focused more on FX for foreign transactions, foreign trips, foreign purchases. We placed so much emphasis on oil and made it the mainstay of our economic well-being, and to the detriment of other sectors. We've allowed our manpower and human resource capital continue to live and take their talents elsewhere. And then we have not equipped and developed the workforce of government, which is the civil and public service, where the best hands come in. Or rather, we have relied heavily on quota systems, nepotism, tribal and religious sentiments, and political patronage to build our first 11, which is the workforce we have. So why are we surprised that we are where we are? What really have we done to prevent us from getting to this place? And if we continue to apply that Band-Aid effect, you get a scratch, a continuous rash, and rather than go to the hospital, you continue to plaster it and do cosmetic treatment on it, and it continues to do more damage, and you ask those questions, then I think we are the ones that are deceiving ourselves. We know where our problems are, and if we don't fix those problems, we'll be deceiving ourselves. Today, I like with data, right? So what is the data today? Food inflation, as of today, stands at 40.1%. The general inflation is between 31 and 33%. Banks continue to increase interest rates. The electricity tariff has gone up 300%. The Naira continues to experience volatility. And all we get are reactionary measures. Now, even on the part of the average Nigerian, today, electricity tariffs have gone up. A lot of us have now realized that we can't just leave our bulbs on anytime. We can't just leave our air conditions running. Everyone is now minimizing light. Because for a long time, government did not play its role in making the citizenry understand the real cost of living. And even when all these challenges from fuel subsidy to all the economic issues came, what was the approach of government? Palliatives, 8,000 naira. We sat in the studio sometime last year, and I vehemently spoke against this 8,000 naira palliative, because what can it do? Now, what is the solution to our problem? Mr. President had said, look, labor pain comes and people must bear those labor pains. And while I completely agree with the President that no recovery is easy and labor is never easy, but there's also something the doctors will tell you that is called epidural that helps the nursing mother balance the ache and pain that labor brings. But also, while you are giving those, palliatives to ease the pain, the medical team is also working assiduously to ensure that both the mother and the baby are safe. What do we need to do to rescue our country? We're talking of tariffs, we're talking of all that we're speaking about. If we don't improve infrastructure, if we don't improve indigenous manufacturing and improve our agri sector, food inflation will not come down. Now, what we also have failed to put in perspective is the fact that the average Nigerian no longer believes in the efficacy of the naira. So what is the body language of government and its sectors?
No longer believes in the efficacy of
the naira.
The naira,
in
the national currency.
Naira.
The national currency, yeah, okay.
They all believe, look, you want to keep your Commonwealth safe, go and buy dollars. But you see, what is America doing right to strengthen their dollar? What do we need to learn to strengthen the naira? I have always said, look, let us commodify a product, invest heavily in it, push it out for export, attract FX, while investing heavily in its production in naira. Are we attracting foreign exchange? We are spending. So if we do not look at these factors that have brought us here, and we continue to speak to these issues in isolation, oh, electricity tariffs have gone up, no, bring it down because the standard of living is this and all that. Oh, we can no longer cope, we cannot subsidize, so we're taking it off. What you continue to have will be that every man for himself approach will continue to increase. You have failures in the system. You have people intentionally sabotaging the system. You have people who clearly cannot meet those levels. And this is also because government for a long time continued to act as if Father Christmas, spending monies it should spend on infrastructure, on development, on growth, on building the economy, on subsidies. It was spending those monies on subsidizing what it had no business subsidizing, with very little on impact assessment, with very little on auditing. Then, again, the chicken has come to roost.
Now,
because what are those subsidies? You see, subsidy is like having someone hungry and inviting the person for lunch and giving the person a meal, no matter how fantastic that meal is, the lifespan is between 12 and 24 hours. And it will always end up in the restroom.
Indeed.
But the difference lies in saying, look, get a shop, do this, do that, do the business. So every time you want to eat, you have to eat. These belts were tightening today, and all the tariffs that are going up, all the levies that are springing out, are things that government should have done intentionally over time.
Yes. Well, I was going to bring, so I beg your pardon for interrupting. I was going to, I was going to bring you to, you referred to all of these measures, generally speaking, earlier, as a sort of a band-aid approach, rather than, as it were, going to the hospital for a proper diagnosis. And, you know, you've also said that these are things that have happened over time, because you were preferring answers to your own question, which is a rhetorical one for most Nigerians anyway, about how did we actually arrive here? Well, this administration has said it's not interested in storytelling. It was handed the baton the way it was handed, and it's going to have to do its very, very best to make up for what has been lost. So there's probably, maybe it can be said for the administration that it knew when it came in that the system was out of whack, and they had to start somewhere. And the central bank, the Ministry of Finance, has been hard at work at it. Are there things that, in the light of where we find ourselves now, and the president has always said he's not interested in the blame game. He's interested in where we are now and, you know, moving on from there. When you said that these are essentially, some of these things are essentially band-aid measures, are we cutting them enough slack? Because it is what it is, and they have to start somewhere. Or are you saying that there probably were alternative approaches that could have been taken? It looks like any way that is taken is going to be very, very painful to the citizenry.
Of course. Any approach. So I have always said to friends and associates that I do not pity Mr. President. Mr. President has inherited very painful shoes, and he's doing his best to wear them as magnanimously or as eminently as he should. And I like the fact that he said, look, I lobbied for this job, and I'm obligated to get the job done. Part of getting the job done is doing the difficult work. But you see, there must be a clear trajectory. And that must be told to those who are bearing the brunt of the burden. So let's take, for instance, the cybersecurity levy that is in the works.
Okay.
It's been here since 2015. There was a reason government did not activate it, or reasons best known to them, right? But here we are in 2024, about 9 years later, it suddenly springs up. And its implementation is rolled out without adequate information, without adequately contextualizing what is on ground. We have the Oyedele panel, whose primary responsibility is to harmonize our taxes. We have too many taxes, right? To harmonize our taxes and reduce the burden, and then share it across the levels of government. But what has happened? They do not even seem to understand where this levy is coming from. And you see, one of the most important things this government can do is to enable proper sectoral understanding when it comes to regulation. why we feel the brunt with a lot of the policies, fiscal policies that are coming out, may very well be that the leadership at the helm of affairs in CBN today have a sectoral understanding of the challenges. And they are trying to see how to plug them in appropriately. But it may also be that they have not contextualized the implication of some of these policies and how they are being rolled out. Should these levies be taken? Yes, a law has established it, right? It went through first reading, second reading, consultation stages. Nobody stopped it. It was passed and assented to by the president. It did not receive any pushback. So it's a law and it's binding on everyone who the law has said it should be binding on. But in rolling it out, what are the modalities? What is the level of scrutiny that has gone into the activities of the businesses that are established under the Act to be bound by that section? So rather than really look at, so the approach where you have the level of inflation and economic challenges that we're facing today, the approach should predominantly be from a place of, look, how do we balance the scale of wealth? How do we balance revenue generation? And that's where people sometimes say, oh, you tax the rich more to give a bit of a breather to the lower class. While government needs to raise revenue, government also needs to loosen the belt on small businesses so that they can rebound quickly and contribute to the growth of the economy. Because really, who will suffer the brunt of some of these levies if it is thrown all across the board? Not the big guns. It is small one-man, two-man, sole proprietorship, small businesses that are already struggling to survive. They will bear the brunt. So while they are tightening in one place, you've got to loosen in another place, at least albeit to balance it a bit, so that these small businesses that make up almost 70% of our economic growth are given the support they need to again rebound and contribute to the growth of the economy.
Well, okay, it seems very logical. In fact, so much so that I'm at a loss to accept that the experts in charge, and they shouldn't be anything less, were actually missed contextualizing, as you have explained, the effect of not just the policies that are being rolled out, but the timing. Because a lot of people have said that, whereas there might be not very much wrong with what is going on when you look at it globally, the timing, however, is what a lot of people are wondering about. And just as I said that, and I wanted to get your commentary on that, I just heard that Mazi Okorafo has called in from Arochukwu. So let me take him, please, and then I'll come back to you to take it. Good morning, Mazi Okorafo.
One more, you see, the issue we are facing now about why you see that people are complaining. Not that people are complaining about it, but the question is this: when you talk about this issue of tax and the rest, what Nigerians are saying is this: presently, the economic aspect of it, and in terms of the manpower, and in terms of work generation, is the major issue we are facing. Now, you see, it's not up to 1 month or 6 weeks that we're talking about the tariffs that has to do with energy. And you're talking about this issue of this tax. Now, the issue is, when you transfer this money, do you know how many, I'm sure how many millions or billions the banks have been making? And it's the poor man that is suffering it. If you go to the bank now to collect money, they will tell you that you are not, it just happened to us now, that was 2 weeks ago. We say, okay, we are withdrawing 150 to pay some exam fund. That you cannot withdraw more than 150. That what you should take is minimum, is that the maximum 100. Now we have to go back again the transportation, and the food. And these are the major issues. But what I'm just saying to the government is that not everybody that inside all this crypto banking and this issue and this issue, transaction of that has to do with foreign exchange. Very few Nigerian youths that are into all this issue of money, this currency, transaction of exchange currency that has to do with foreign currency outside Nigeria. If I told the government not to say that everybody from big and even your own salary, how much is the salary? And you know that some organization that or some administration that they don't give people table money again. Everything is transferred to your money. Now you are going to collect, maybe you want to transfer to your child now, and you are paying that money. How much is left? That is making sure the government. I'm just saying the government that you look to the class of people that are supposed to pay that, not general to everybody. Because now that one will not withstand it. People are making reference to Niger. You see, Niger people are now they're full out from ECOWAS. They have all those things. If you check where some of these policies we are seeing now has to do with IMF and World Bank. These are the conditionalities they have there. That was why I was complaining last month when the meeting was going on in Washington. How many Nigerian economists were there? How many Nigerian bankers were there? How many experts in terms of developing the economy that were there? They were not there. And then this way they finished their meeting last month. They have doctored everything and pushed Africa now and throw it to the masses. And the masses are coming. Nobody cares. But the question is this, I'm just begging the government. This was instruction of our big. Let government be careful whatever tax they are giving, because we don't want this situation that you'll be passing by starting corpses on the road. It has happened now, because during the Civil War it happened. And there are some countries, Sudan, it happened. Now that was what Sudan was why Sudan, and they have to structure their system now. Other countries are now helping Sudan. Is it what we are waiting for? No. We don't want that. Please, I'm not telling the government. All right. This issue of taxes. Let us face how to generate revenue. That is to be the high class people that collect billions are people that are supposed to do it. Not a poor man. Poor man, you collect poor man tax now. How much is left? Only high class. That is why if you go outside Nigeria, only the high class who does on road are supposed to pay all this, but they push this to the poor man. If you take away, the big man will not pay. Good morning. Mazi Okorafo from Arochukwu.
Thank you very much, Mazi Okorafo. So, Amari, we also had the addition of Mazi Okorafo's perspective on the matter. But looking at our subject of these levies, taxations that we're all experiencing now, and inflationary trends, which quite frankly are almost at the unbearable level, I imagine that by the time labor comes into it now, there'll be, some, let me just call it dynamism that will have to also be managed. So going back to the question before I took, I took on Mazi Okorafo, the whole question of perhaps the administration hasn't been able to contextualize the effects that these measures that some will say are necessary. One sort of find that a bit surprising. It's like, why wouldn't they?
Well, these measures are necessary. I must establish that. And I think that what I don't have a seat in the room, so I can't speak for them. But I think that what is making government act the way it's acting is clearly because it has a front row seat as to what is staring it in the face and the challenges that it's presently embattled with. But no matter how dire the situation is, we must be able to balance scales. Like Mr. Okorafo said, who bears the brunt of this present inflationary problem? The average Nigerian who takes public work, because their income has not increased. And I feel particularly, sorry for the workforce who are not doing business. So a businessman meets challenges, you increase your costs and you push it to the customer.
Yes. Yes.
Who will the civil servants and the workers who have no line of business push their costs to?
Mm-hmm.
So same thing you're earning, but with the chat.
And where it affects him the most, as you indicated earlier, is food inflation in the 40% range. That's the first thing, because that's the very first thing that relates to the ordinary person. The Yoruba man says, and I'm sure other languages echo the same concept, that when you take care of hunger, you've taken care of 50% of the problem. You know, so the fact that the ordinary citizen is now having to contend with a 40% inflation rate, as government is continuing to do what it is doing, which it must see as the right way to go. Maybe what I'll do is I'll take a break now, so that when we come back, I can get your thoughts on whether it might well be that government has the notion that, you know what, because the president has said on occasions, I feel your pain, I know where it hurts. Maybe they have the attitude that it's going to get worse before it gets better. But trust me, it is going to get better. I'll get your thoughts on that when we come back from this break. Please stay with us.
Stay ahead with the biggest news stories. Go beyond the news headlines. Experience impactful investigations. Enjoy resourceful news coverage in real time. TVC News at 7 and TVC News at 10 p.m. Live every day on this channel. TVC News. First with breaking news. Experience information and entertainment like never before as TVC Breakfast takes your weekends to a whole new level. Introducing TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, your ultimate source of thrilling sports updates, insightful political analysis, and captivating entertainment news. Stay in the know with what's trending, catch up with the latest in sports, and immerse yourself in the latest buzz from the world of music and movies. Your weekends are no longer just days off, but moments packed with knowledge, excitement, and enjoyment. TVC Breakfast Weekend Edition, only on TVC News.
Okay, welcome back. Taxation, levies, and inflationary trends. The theme of our conversation this morning with Marui Edogiawure, a startup business lawyer and financial analyst. Reverend Dominic has come online since we went on break. A fine morning to you, Reverend.
Good morning, Chief Yori. How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Yori, there's something my friend George always say on this program. And George complained about this on the last administration. Communication. Honestly, myself, I'm not an economist. I'm confused about the way Nigeria system runs now because the way it bites me. But I think the government can communicate to us very well. Because to me, maybe they mean well so that we can find a good pathway to come out of economic quagmire. Our refineries are coming on board. Other things are working. But we need power of communication. If you don't communicate to people where you're going to, a right way become a wrong way. George have complained this thing last time. Now we're complaining it again. We need government machinery to communicate to us, Nigerians. There's no doubt we're going through a very challenging time. What 1,000 naira can buy yesterday, it can't buy today. What 10,000 can buy yesterday, it can't buy today. We know it must get bad in order to get right. But somebody must give you a leadway, a pathway. I'm a pastor. At times for you to communicate to congregation where you're going to, we want to convince them. That makes a man to say, I drink beer today, I won't drink again tomorrow. It's a conviction. You communicated to him or her to see the reason not to be alcoholic, and he moved the other way around. That's the power of communication.
It is in governance. We need, this government is not communicating well, to be fair to you, to everybody. I thought we could bring the man who take you mineral resources. Then is an expert to come back to, communication expert of this government, so we can know where we're going. Then is an expert. I have not seen a young man who communicates like Dela Leke. I have issue with him, but he's a communication expert. We need to be communicated well. This taxes is confusing. Electricity, this tax, I don't understand it. As educated as I am, and I know many Nigerians are in my shoe. We need to be communicated well so we can support this government. Thank you, and God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much for calling in, Reverend Dominic. And I'd be happy to sort of attach your commentary to my question. Is it a matter of it's going to get worse before it gets better, much rather than they're not really understanding and being able to contextualize? Because at the end of it all, we all Nigerians, even supporters of the regime, are getting a bit exasperated at the way people are being hit. It's not just the opposition now, because it is really hitting everybody. The situation we find ourselves in with these taxations, levies, and the inflationary trends is that I dare say the ordinary Nigerian will be thinking, please, let me breathe. I need some breathing space. Whereas I want to be supportive, but let me breathe.
So, Dory, I will take you back to my opening statement. And I think that in saying that, I laid the foundation for a lot of things. Firstly, nothing good comes easy. Two, when you play too much, you pay later. Government has played a lot over the years, and now the citizens are paying. I had pointed out earlier that a lot of the factors that were supposed to, resources that were supposed to be used to build infrastructure that would have taken us out of the quagmire we're in today, were used to subsidize the cost of living, were used to subsidize things that government had no business subsidizing for a very long time. And recent reports have shown that those subsidies really were not as impactful as government intended it to be. But then who suffered? Our infrastructure. What are the indices for agricultural development? Arable land, good road network. We have over 200,000 kilometers of roads and barely 60,000 are motoring. That automatically diminishes the impact of our agri-boost. One of the biggest challenges we have with food sufficiency is the logistics supply chain. Government, over time, over the years, failed to invest in that logistics supply chain. Power, tariffs are going up today. What have been the impactful investment in our energy infrastructure in the last 20 to 30 years? More of a maintenance palliative approach and a subsidization approach. Because even the public-private sector partnerships have not really cut it to achieve the intention. One of the most important offices in this administration today is that is held by Hadiza Bala Osman, which is ensuring and overseeing the impact of all the ministries. Mr. President should sign a performance bond with all the ministers. Mr. President should sign a performance bond with all the heads of agencies, and he should allow them to play their role. And those who are not playing the role in accordance to the performance bond should be removed. Because for so long, we have had less than impactful contribution to infrastructural development. So we are complaining about food sufficiency. Go to Boko today. Go to the food beds across the country. You will see food wasting. You will see food in bags packed no means to transport them to where there is the need. They were shouting inflation. What's happening?
Okay. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, Marie. So sorry. Let me bring in Mukhtar, who has been waiting. I called him from Kano. Good morning to you, Mukhtar.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Go ahead, please.
My contribution to this program is that we should understand that in a democratic setting, any policy that does not take the consideration, the interest of the population or of the citizens should be kicked aside. Now, this democracy, that policy should be targeted to suit the interest of the people. Now, this, the way I look at it, to my understanding, this levy, as far as I'm concerned, should be dropped. If the government wants the money, they should reduce the cost of governance. This cost of governance, look at the advisors. How many do we have? What are they advising? Look at the ministers do we have? How many are they performing? Look at the foreign trips. Even the former president has undertaken. What is the benefit? What is the gain? And look at the present president that is undertaking. What do we gain from it? The cost of governance must be reduced to the barest minimum. That will save the nation a great deal of money, rather than charging this levy. This levy, to me, as far as I'm concerned, is not the best. Provide electricity, provide peace. You see, down the dollar, because all these are policies that the common man is suffering. The common man line up to vote for this government. Why? Because he wants to enjoy life. But reverse is the case. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mukhtar, for calling in with that. Whereas I'd like to also, maybe you'd like to comment on Mukhtar's contribution, but I was also going to ask, look, in the midst of the things you were explaining, talking about how we almost like sat on our hands for such a long while, metaphorically speaking, and now we're beginning to get busy. We have a lot of catching up to do. In that context, I was going to ask you about your thoughts on the Lagos-Calabar road in terms of expenditure and investment that is going on now, and the value that can be added as a result of that. You were speaking about road networks as it relates to agriculture, but please go ahead. If you like, you could take up some of the things Mukhtar said.
So body language is very important in governance. And I think that this administration can do a bit more with its body language with respect to the cost of governance. So I am aligned with Mukhtar to some extent, but also, again, you need to know where you are coming from. Our electioneering process, our political maneuvering system is not sustainable for the challenges that we're facing today. The cost of electioneering is prohibitively alarming. And so you don't expect people to dissipate the resources they dissipate to get into office to come in and tighten their belt. Who's fooling who? But again, we look at the weaponization of poverty. We look at what are the factors that help people get into political office. You can't ask someone who has spent XYZ to get into office and tighten his belt. It's not a Father Christmas. So if you want to fix that, fix the system that gets them into office. Fix the system, the politicking. Fix the electioneering. Bring the cost of election down. Ask the right questions at that time. That's the only way we really can make any impactful measure to reduce the cost of governance. But again, beyond that, right, governments must now look to indigenously improve certain areas in the immediate. So if you are giving a levy, for instance, and you are giving tax holidays to MSMEs, to small businesses, right? Or you're giving waivers or amnesty programs to certain businesses as a result of the present challenges, then there will appear to be some level of balance. Because these are the people that are bearing the brunt. There is food inflation. How much is being done to open up the country, to improve the transportation supply chain? How much is being done to ensure that if 1,000 tubers of yam come into Lagos from Boko every week, they increase to 10,000? So how much effort is being put into ensuring that that supply chain receives the boost it needs to bring down the food challenges? What are the factors of production in the key areas of food beds of this country, different places? So every staple meal we have in this country, there's one part of the country that predominantly produces. How much support is given to that area to ensure that their production level goes up? How much support is given to ensure that the road networks are opened up? Why don't we have a proper rail transportation system just for the purpose of boosting our agri-tech space? This is an era of technology and innovation. How much technology is being put into agriculture to improve food sufficiency? These are the issues.
Where would you put the Lagos-Calabar road that ultimately I hear will end up in Sokoto as well, in the midst of the things that you were just talking about?
That is development. That is the development that we should seek. That's part of opening up the country. That's part of creating new avenues. Do you know how much pressure will be removed from the usual Lagos-Ibadan, Benin-Ore expressway when that road gets? Do you know how many lives will be saved? How much man hours will be reduced? Because what you've done is that you've given an alternative. And how that will improve business. So it is a novel idea, fantastic novel idea. Yes.
It's a novel idea, as you're saying. It's also a fantastic one you've just said. In terms of the timing now, look at all the things that we are considering. There are those who are saying that, is this the best, deployment of the trillions that it is going to cost? Because you spoke about this whole matter about putting things in context in time.
So that's why I'm saying the timing, the body language of the projects at this time, when people just want a bucket of garri, when people just want to eat rice. Nobody's even, you see, if you speak to health practitioners, the protein deficiency in this country today is alarming. Because nobody who don't chop rice go see meat, go feed chop meat. But so the timing is a bit tricky. And government should do a bit more to explain why now.
Okay.
Government should do a bit more to explain why now, and to let Nigerians understand that, look, this project is not fully government funded. It's a public-private sector project, right? And there's an investment that's coming from the private sector, and there are bonds and all that go around it. Throw this conversation open and let Nigerians know.
Indeed.
Right?
Which goes back to Reverend Dominic's point about communicating with the citizenry.
And let them understand that you are not suffering because this road is being constructed.
That's important to know.
Because let me give you an analogy. If you as a father have 3 kids and one of your children is asking you for a bicycle, another is asking you for a new shoe, and another is asking you for a textbook or novels, and you have to stock up the house with food. You will set the children to understand that I know that your needs are important, right? But if you don't eat, you can't even ride a bike. You can't read. You can't wear a dress. You've got to eat. So I'm investing in this so we can eat. When money comes, we do this. It will be, they will understand. But then, if you just ignore their request and they get food on the table every day, they take that for granted. But if you let them know that, look, the cost of you not having a bicycle is a plate of food on the table, they'll probably understand a bit more, and they won't be. Government needs to understand that they've got to communicate to the citizens every project they are doing and the implications of those projects on the pain points that the citizens are facing.
Indeed. There's no getting past that. And you said that this is where government could do a bit more. Mukhtar, who called in, you said you also identified to an extent with what he is doing, the cost of the undue, the size of governance. The size of governance, it doesn't show that, maybe there are political considerations, because everybody could say, oh, lean government, the president has on his hands, he has a debt that he has to address, a political debt that he has to address, is the way some people might look at the matter. And so it's not as if people don't know that a lean government is best, but a lean government probably won't accommodate all the favors that he has to repay, to put it crudely.
Well, you see, where you reduce the cost of electioneering, that political debt is reduced drastically. Where you also improve the indices of production and development in the private sector space and the economy, very few people will find government attractive.
Yeah, but to go that way would be quite revolutionary in terms of the local Nigerian psychology about these things. Again, so electioneering.
Agency should come in. This is where, you see, government is not talking enough. They're not explaining things enough. There is a communication gap between the citizens and the leadership. And government must intentionally, in everything it does, bridge that. You see, one of the biggest problems we've had as a nation, I was having a conversation with my friend yesterday night, and I said, look, we've run Nigeria so badly over time that the citizens and government do not understand and know when politicking should end and when patriotism and leadership should start. And we see countries where there are daggers drawn during elections. And once elections are over, everyone aligns with the leadership. Because look, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. My allegiance and respect to President Tinubu is because he is the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He is the president of my country. He holds that office. And I think that government must begin to bridge that divide and build the trust that will get Nigerians to understand. You see, when people can trust you, people believe you. People are ready to take the brunt because they believe in what you're saying. And it's not about this administration. It's a mindset thing that has got to be fixed.
Okay. Indeed.
We fix those issues, what you find is that patriotism will be on an all-time high. The small business owner, the mid-sized business owner, everybody in their own little corners, making their own little profits, will begin to look at the improvement of the economy just as much as they look at the improvement of their business. Today, what you is every business person trying to ensure that they stay afloat, because as far as they are concerned, they are providing their own security, they are providing their own light, they are providing their own water. So why really should they care about the economy? Let them fix themselves as much as they can. Who bears the brunt? you and I, who are the consuming population, who are spending the salaries that have not increased to purchase products that are 3-4 times the price.
Well, I guess we're going to have to leave it here, but we can only keep our fingers crossed. And thank you very much, Omarui Diogiawere, for joining us this morning for this quite enlightening conversation, and also sharing with us your insights on this whole matter of taxation levies and inflationary trends, and seeing how they are all interlinked. And you've shared some ideas on how these things might have been different, but I guess, as I said, it's been a very interesting conversation. Thank you very much for coming on and sharing with us on it. Okay, so our guest has been Omarui Diogiawere, a startup business lawyer and a financial analyst as well. Well, that's our program today. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.